Hi there. We got a call from this address. Everything okay?
Call? From who?
We didn't call anyone.
Someone reported an argument. Is anyone else inside the house?
Just our kid, but they wouldn't.
Huh. Okay.
Sure.
Officer, this is a family matter. We're fine. You can leave.
Teen secretly calls police on toxic parents. Doesn't end well. The officer knocked on the front door. A man opened it. He looked calm, too calm. "Hi there," the officer said. "We got a call from this address. Everything okay?" The dad frowned. A call from who? His wife appeared behind him. "We didn't call anyone." "Someone reported an argument," the officer explained. "Is there anyone else in the house?" The dad paused. His eyes moved to the hallway, then back to the officer. "Just our kid," he said slowly, "but they wouldn't." He stopped mid-sentence. His jaw tightened. You could see it click in his head. "Huh, okay, sure." The mom stepped forward. Her voice was sweet but firm. "Officer, this is a family matter. We are fine." The dad nodded. "You can leave now. We'll handle this ourselves." But here's what these parents didn't know. They had just made a huge mistake. When someone calls 911 and the call ends suddenly, dispatchers don't forget about it. They send officers anyway. It's the rule. And those bodycams the officers were wearing, they were recording everything, every word, every look, every lie. December 3rd, 2024 was about to become the day this family's secrets stopped being secrets. Before I continue, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen someone try to hide the truth from police? Tell me in the comments what happened. Now let me tell you about the person these parents were trying to silence, their own child. This teenager had been living in a toxic home for years. Arguments were normal, yelling was normal, fear was normal, but none of it felt normal to the kid living through it. Most children in bad homes never ask for help. Studies show that millions of kids see violence at home every year, but only a tiny number ever call the police. They're scared, they feel guilty, they think no one will believe them. This teenager was different. They had done their research. They knew that calling 911 was an option. They knew what to say. They knew the address mattered. They were ready. On December 3rd, the parents started fighting again. The yelling got louder. The tension got worse. The teenager had seen this pattern before, but this time they did something about it. They grabbed a phone. They dialed 911. They spoke quietly but clearly. They gave the address. They described what was happening. But wait, there's more to this story. The parents found out, and what happened next changed everything. This wasn't the first time things got out of control in this house, not even close. These parents had a pattern. Arguments happened often, they got loud, they got intense, and the teenager witnessed all of it, year after year. To the outside world, this family looked normal. Nice house, regular jobs, friendly waves to the neighbors, but behind closed doors, the truth was different. The parents believed in one rule above all else. Family matters stay in the family. What happens at home stays at home. They taught their child to stay quiet, to protect the family image, to never tell anyone what really went on. And for years, it worked. The neighbors heard arguments sometimes, but never got involved. Teachers never asked too many questions. No one checked on the kid. The parents felt safe. They believed their child would never betray them. They thought they had total control. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Should children be expected to protect their parents' secrets? Here's what's important to understand. Controlling parents often think they can manage everything. They think they can explain away any problem. They think authority figures will believe them over their own children. These parents were about to learn how wrong they were. December 3rd, 2024, a regular Tuesday evening, nothing special about the date. The family was home. The parents started arguing about something. We don't know exactly what, but we know it got loud, it got tense. The teenager could hear every word. This wasn't new, but something felt different this time. Maybe the argument was worse than usual. Maybe the teenager had finally had enough. Either way, they made a choice. The teen found a phone. They went somewhere quiet. They dialed 911. My parents are fighting, the teenager said softly. They gave the address. They tried to explain quickly. But then something went wrong. The parents heard. They realized what was happening, and they made the teenager hang up. The call ended suddenly, mid-sentence. The dispatcher heard the click. Now here's what most people don't know. When a 911 call gets cut off, it raises red flags. Dispatchers are trained to treat sudden disconnections as emergencies. They send officers anyway, no matter what. Within minutes, police cars were heading to that house. The parents had no idea what was coming. If stories like this matter to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what happens next. The officers arrived at the house, 2 of them, bodycams on, ready to investigate. They knocked, the dad answered. You already heard that conversation. The parents tried to play it cool. They said everything was fine. They wanted the officers to leave. But officers are trained for this. They know when something feels off, and something definitely felt off. We need to see everyone in the home, one officer said. It's standard procedure after a 911 call. The mom sighed. This is really not necessary. Ma'am, we received a call about an argument. We need to confirm everyone is safe. The dad crossed his arms. Our kid overreacted. You know how teenagers are. That excuse, officers hear it all the time. Parents trying to explain away their children's concerns, making the kids sound dramatic, making themselves sound reasonable. We still need to speak with them, the officer said firmly. The parents exchanged a look. Then they called the teenager into the room. The teen appeared in the hallway, head down, shoulders tense, body language that spoke louder than words. The officers noticed immediately. They're trained to see distress. They know what fear looks like. Can we talk to you alone for a minute? An officer asked the teenager. The dad stepped forward. Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of us. Sir, it's standard to speak with everyone separately. 10 minutes later, the officers had heard 2 very different stories. The parents said it was a minor disagreement, nothing serious. The teenager said something else entirely. Here's the thing about lying to police. Your story has to match. Every detail has to line up. And when officers talk to everyone separately, lies fall apart fast. The parents' story had holes. The teenager's story had details, and the officers could see which one was true. Type "believe kids" in the comments if you think children deserve to be heard. This is where everything changed. The officers had seen enough. The sudden 911 hang-up, the parents' defensive behavior, the teenager's visible fear, the stories that didn't match, all of it painted a clear picture. One officer stepped aside to make a call. In situations like this, there's a rule. When children might be in danger, officers have to report it. They don't have a choice. The law requires it. The call went to Child Protective Services, CPS for short. Their job is to investigate when kids might be unsafe at home. When the parents realized what was happening, their calm act disappeared. You're calling CPS on us, the mom said. Her voice was sharp now. We are good parents. Ma'am, this is standard procedure, the officer replied. When a child calls about a domestic situation and the call gets disconnected, we have to follow up. The dad's face went red. This is ridiculous. Our kid made one phone call and now you're treating us like criminals. Here's something important to understand. The way someone reacts to oversight tells you a lot. Good parents might be embarrassed. They might be worried, but they usually cooperate. They want to prove everything is fine. These parents, they got angry, they got defensive, they acted like they had something to hide. The officers documented everything, the forced hang-up of the 911 call, the parents' defensive statements, the teenagers' distress, the different stories from each person. Every detail went into the report. Now wait until you hear what the research says about situations like this. Studies have looked at what happens when children are present during domestic calls. The numbers are eye-opening. Between 32 and 59% of these calls involve kids. That's nearly half. And here's something surprising. When children are present, police are actually less likely to file charges. The rate drops from 35% to about 30%. Why? Partly because officers don't want to arrest people in front of kids. It can be traumatic, but it also means that sometimes children don't get the protection they need. The officers that night did their job correctly. They reported what they saw. They started the process. But here's the hard truth. Starting the process and solving the problem are two different things. CPS would investigate, they would visit the home, they would interview the family, but then what? The teenager had been brave enough to call for help. Now the real question was whether help would actually come. One officer knelt down to talk to the teenager directly. His voice was kind. "You did the right thing," he said. "Calling when you're scared is always the right thing." The teenager nodded, but there was still fear in their eyes, because they knew something the officer might not have understood yet. After the police left, they would still be in that house, with those parents, and now those parents knew their child had called the cops on them. Over the next few days, the system started moving. CPS opened an investigation. This means a caseworker was assigned to the family. Their job was to find out if the teenager was safe. They would visit the home, they would interview everyone, they would make a decision. Caseworkers do this work every day. They see hundreds of families. They try to figure out who needs help and what kind of help they need. But here's the problem. CPS is overloaded. There are too many cases and not enough workers. Each person handles dozens of families at once. Some handle over 100. When caseworkers have too many cases, things slip through the cracks. Visits get rushed. Details get missed. Families that need help don't always get it. The caseworker visited the home. The parents were ready this time. They knew the drill now. They were polite. They were cooperative. They had their story straight. "It was just a misunderstanding," the mom explained. "Our teenager got scared during a normal argument. We would never hurt our child." The dad nodded along. "We're a good family. We love our kid. This whole thing got blown out of proportion." This is what caseworkers hear constantly. Every family has an explanation. Every parent says they love their child. Figuring out the truth is incredibly hard. The caseworker talked to the teenager too, alone this time, but think about the position this kid was in. They had to go back to living with these parents after this conversation. Whatever they said could make things better or worse. Many kids in this situation hold back. They're afraid of what happens after the caseworker leaves. They're afraid of making their parents angrier. Some even take back what they said to police. The investigation continued. The caseworker looked for signs of physical abuse, bruises, injuries, marks, but emotional abuse is different. It doesn't leave visible marks. It's much harder to prove. If you're learning something from this story, hit that subscribe button. We cover cases like this because they matter. After several visits and interviews, the caseworker had to make a decision. Was there enough evidence to take action, or would the case be closed? Here's what usually happens in cases like this. When there's no physical evidence, cases often get closed as unsubstantiated. That doesn't mean nothing happened. It just means they couldn't prove it. The family stays together. The child stays in the same home, and life goes on, but is it better? That depends on the family. On January 20th, 2026, the bodycam footage from that night was released online. A YouTube channel called Police Release posted the video. Within hours, it had tens of thousands of views. By the next day, it had even more. The comments section exploded. People had strong opinions. "That kid was so brave," one person wrote. "Look at how those parents reacted," another said. "That tells you everything." "The system failed this child," someone else commented. The video showed exactly what happened that night. The parents trying to dismiss the officers, the teenager's body language, the inconsistencies in the stories. Everything the officers documented was now visible to millions of people. Some viewers were angry at the parents, some were angry at the system, some were angry at both. "What happens to that kid now?" one comment asked. "The police left and the parents are still there." That question came up again and again. People understood the problem. A child can be brave enough to call for help, but what happens when the help isn't enough? Comment below and tell me what you think should have happened. What would real help look like for a kid in this situation? The video sparked bigger conversations too, about toxic families, about children's rights, about whether calling 911 actually helps kids or puts them in more danger. Share this video if you think others need to see this story. Now let me tell you what the system can and cannot do in cases like this. When CPS investigates a family, they have a few options. If they find serious abuse, they can remove the child. This is rare. It only happens in extreme cases with clear evidence. If they find problems but not serious abuse, they might offer services, counseling, parenting classes, regular check-ins. The goal is to help the family improve. If they don't find enough evidence, they close the case. The family goes back to normal, no more visits, no more oversight. Here's what the research shows. Many cases get closed as unsubstantiated. This doesn't mean the child lied. It means the evidence wasn't strong enough to prove what happened. Emotional abuse is especially hard to prove. There are no bruises to photograph, no broken bones to X-ray. It's one person's word against another. And here's something that might surprise you. The amount we spend on child protection in this country, it's not enough. Caseworkers are underpaid and overworked. Agencies don't have the resources they need. So what happens to kids like this teenager? Sometimes things get better. The scare of a CPS investigation makes some parents change their behavior. They realize they can't keep acting the way they were. But sometimes things get worse. The parents blame the child for bringing authorities into their home. The control gets tighter. The isolation gets deeper. The teenager pays the price for speaking up. The bodycam footage exists now. That's something. If this teenager ever needs help again, there's a record. There's proof that something happened. That might matter someday. But wait, here's the part that frustrates people the most. The system is designed to keep families together when possible. Experts call this family preservation. The idea is that children do better with their families, even imperfect families, than in foster care. This makes sense in many cases. Foster care has its own problems. Kids who go into the system often struggle. But what about kids whose families are truly toxic? What about kids who need to get out? The system isn't always good at telling the difference. Let me know in the comments if you think the system gets this balance right. Now I want to speak directly to anyone watching who sees themselves in this teenager's story. If you're young and living in a home that doesn't feel safe, I want you to know something. Calling for help is always the right choice. Even when the system isn't perfect, even when things are complicated, reaching out is never wrong. That teenager on December 3rd wasn't being dramatic. They weren't overreacting. They were surviving. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. If you need help, there are people who want to listen. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. The Child Help Hotline is 1-800-422-4453. You can also text HOME to 741,741 to reach a crisis counselor. Talk to a teacher you trust, a school counselor, a coach, a friend's parent, anyone who might be able to help. Keep records if you can, save text messages, write down what happens, keep this information somewhere your parents won't find it. It might matter later. And here's something for the adults watching. If a child tells you something is wrong, believe them, take it seriously, act on it. You might be the one person who can make a difference. Every kid deserves to feel safe at home. That's not asking too much. This case shows something important about how we protect children. We tell kids to speak up. We teach them to call for help. But the systems we've built can't always deliver on that promise. Over 10 million children witness violence at home every year. Most never tell anyone. The ones who do often find that help has limits. We can do better than this. So let me ask you, do we actually help children when they're brave enough to ask for it? Do we hold the system accountable when it falls short? Do we create homes where kids feel safe, or just tell them to call 911 and hope for the best? Because if we don't fix what's broken, if we don't give agencies the resources they need, if we don't believe children when they speak up, then we're just waiting for the next toxic family, the next scared teenager, the next call that doesn't change anything. Comment below if you believe children deserve real protection, not just investigations that go nowhere, real help that actually works. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep telling these stories. We're going to keep showing what really happens. We're going to keep pushing for better. This isn't just about one teenager and two parents. It's about millions of kids wondering if anyone would believe them. The answer should always be yes. See you in the next one.